Thank you very much, Deborah. Welcome everybody to today's webinar. As Deborah mentioned, it's around social media trends for 2022, and I'm delighted to be here for another webinar on social media hosted by Invest NI. Deborah said, my name is Declan Murda from Brilliant Red Digital, and without further ado, let's get started. So, I guess over the past 2 years, we've seen, I suppose, just how important social media is for businesses. And no doubt 2022 is going to be more of the same. And businesses, shouldn't just be wondering, how are they going to engage their social media audiences this year? They should be asking questions around, what trends should I expect to see this year? What do they mean for my business? What do we need to do to stay ahead of the curve? And how can we plan our social strategy around the latest trends and shifts on social media, in order to maximize our opportunities. So what I've done is compiled a list of the top social media trends for the year ahead. So let's look at the first trend we've identified. And this is all around TikTok. So I'm sure you all are aware of TikTok now at this stage. And what we will continue to see this year is the rise of TikTok, and as more and more businesses start to explore how they can leverage the app's popularity and how they can use it to increase the brand awareness of their company and how they can reach new audiences. So, TikTok, I guess, exploded during the first lockdown. Now, it's been around for a few years and did have a captive audience, but it really came to prominence around the first lockdown, where people were looking at source of entertainment, that source of escapism, and a lot of people jumped onto the TikTok platform. So today it is now over 1 billion active monthly users, so in around the same as Instagram, which is a lot of users globally, but it's also been downloaded 3 billion times as well. So there's a lot of dormant users and maybe obviously different devices and so on. And it's typically dominated by millennials and Generation Z audiences, which would be sort of anyone born after 1981. So it is a younger demographic than maybe the likes of Facebook and Twitter would be, which would have an older demographic. Originally, it was launched as a short form video sharing platform for lip syncing dancing videos. It was a merge of two different types of apps, which one was a lip syncing app and one was a video sharing app. And it's now become a fully fledged sort of video content service for all types of viewers and all types of content. And it's completely surpassed the idea of being a passing fad or trend that we might have seen with other platforms. And the key indicator for that is where other social media platforms and the big social media platforms have now started to experiment with similar forms of content. We've seen Instagram Reels come to prominence over the last year. We've seen YouTube Shorts, and that really is the sort of the key influencer among TikTok's power. I guess when other platforms start to replicate what they're doing, and the numbers certainly still see TikTok growing, so that we'll see more and more businesses over the next year start to experiment with TikTok. And like all social media platforms, they have owners, they have shareholders, they have a board, and so on. And there's people dedicated to how they can monetize the app. So what they've done over the last 2 years is to make it really useful for businesses, and they've added tools such as ads and business profiles and lots of different creative ways that the businesses and individuals can create videos. So that's something that has developed and has become really, really important over the last year. It has a real sort of vibrant, creative and experimental community. There's lots of ways to make special effect videos, humorous videos, sort of before and after videos and transition videos, and lots of really, I suppose, cool and creative content options, which are highly shareable. And what you've probably seen, anybody that's on social media over the last year or so, is that these TikTok videos are easily shareable to other platforms. I've seen TikTok videos on on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and Instagram. So they're finding their way onto other platforms as well. You'll see the brand at TikTok in the bottom left hand or bottom right hand corner or the top left hand corner and so on. And they're extremely engaging videos. And one thing about TikTok is it has high rates of user retention. And so what it does, it keeps people on the app because of the how easy it is to use, sort of swipe up to see new videos and so on, and recommended videos. So it keeps people on the app, which is really important. If you're advertising on the app, you have more potential to get in front of various audiences, and it's proven to be quite good at building an audience quickly. And I don't mean reaching 2 million followers or even 20,000 followers or so on. The nature of the platform means that even though people may not have even heard of your brand before or heard of the particular TikTok profile before, and because of their behavior, they can actually get to view your video. So you can build an audience. Like, I've seen business profiles out there with maybe 5,000 followers on TikTok, but millions of TikTok views because of the nature of the platform. So you can build an audience quite quickly. And in terms of TikTok and businesses, they've recommended the businesses a campaign recently around don't make ads, make TikToks, and that's something that we do need to bear in mind as businesses. It's to make content rather than adverts, and that's something we'll talk about a little bit later on as well. But there's probably a lot of people on this webinar today that are B2B organizations as opposed to B2C, and I think it would be fair to say that TikTok does lend itself slightly easier for B2C companies who are targeting consumers and so on. But what I would say is don't discount it right away. Explore the platform, understand the TikTok business tools that are at your disposal. Look at the potential audiences that you can reach. Look at the culture of the platform. Look at other people that are on the platform, other B2B companies and B2C companies. How are they using it? What type of viewership are these people getting, and so on. We can see an example here from Apex Motion, which are a robotics company that sell to food manufacturing and food production companies, are using TikTok very effectively, where they are creating humorous videos around how their products solves a particular problem. And as you can see here, they've over 103,000 likes on this particular video. So they've used it really, really well. And there's lots of other B2B brands using it too. Some estate agents have had great success on it. Lots of software companies, Shopify, Canva, a lot of B2B software companies are using it to great effect as well. So we'll see TikTok really come to prominence for businesses, and a lot more businesses starting to explore the platform over the next year or so.